something you do, I think, as a parent, and that's something you do, you know, to constantly move ahead and to really be successful in life. And we've moved on from that, and I have become successful. And since I've been in Volusia County, I've been in Volusia County for 15 years. And I've done some amazing things at Volusia County. And there are many people in here who have volunteered next to me in many, many capacities. And again, I also have sheets. Not only do I have sheets that the media can take home, page after page after page of my law enforcement awards and achievements, but also my community service awards and achievements locally, not somewhere else, which again is another lie that my opponent is putting out, saying I have zero record of public achievement or service in my community. I would say in my company, the company that I created by myself when I left the sheriff's office, you know, when just out of nowhere, I created that company, and I got Small Business of the Year award in the first year of business with the Daytona Regional Chamber. The next year, what else was it? Fabulous Women in Business Award, Influential Women in Business Award from the News Journal in 2014. There are many, many things that I could cite, and again, I'm highly offended that my opponent would go on television and go on all these ads and say that I have zero record of public service or achievement in this county, because in the 15 years that I have been here, I have had way more public service and certainly record of achievement than he has had in living in his entire life here. So,
well, your struggles through life seem like they would be more representative of all the people that are in this community, and that you would stand for a lot of the things that a lot of people have lived through in their life. Not everybody's had everything handed to them and their father gave them a restaurant.
well, and I think that's a good point too, is that has been the whole purpose of the whole, you know, message in my campaign is I represent the people. I know what it's like to struggle, and I know what it's like to do well. I know what it's like to be a single mom. I know what it's like to have an amazing husband, you know. And I know what it's like to have an amazing daughter and to do all of those kind of things. I know what it's like to be a small business owner and an entrepreneur. I know what it's like to be a law enforcement officer and deal with that. You know, when you talk about the homeless issue, I know what it's like to be homeless, and I know what it's like to deal with the homeless in law enforcement. If you took someone off of the street, you walk down Main Street, Ormond Main Street, and you were to pluck someone off the street, I guarantee you that I would have a lot in common with that person. You know, I can relate, and I get it. And, go ahead. You know, you mentioned that, you know, I wish that I had had the family that Al Smith has had. You know, that good for him. He's had his father. I've heard amazing things about him, and it's fantastic that his father was a great man. But he's not his father. And you know, I think the point there would be is I started with nothing and came here, and he came here and is now left with nothing. He has never been a success in anything that he's tried to achieve, and I have a proven track record of being successful over and over and over in everything that I try and do.
And you support veterans.
Yes. And I definitely support veterans, yes. Hi guys.
That's why I'm here.
And you can relate to the business world, not only the poor people, you can relate to all the business people too, because I've seen you at so many business events.
Right, and Nancy,
you're so well respected.
Nancy and I met actually when I first started my company, and when you were starting your company,
exactly.
and we went through that whole entrepreneurial process together,
exactly.
Which was grueling,
right.
But we both made it, and now we're both successful.
And you were always aspiring to.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. So one of the things that I would like to address, though, is, you know, the things that have been happening. Obviously, my opponent's side has revved up his campaign and revved up his team, and you know, I look at it. It's actually a little bit motivating to me to feel as if, wow, you know, here I am, Heather Post, you know, came from nowhere, a woman, yes, a woman business owner in Volusia County, for heaven's sakes, and I'm running for county council, and I have the establishment so worried that I'm going to come in and actually make policies based on what is right for the people and not based on special interest, that they are pulling out all the stops. You know, $200,000 to run negativity campaigns about me is crappy, but you know, it makes me feel actually sort of good that they consider me that much of an opponent and that much of a you know, well, that much of a threat, but and I think
You're
it's
worth
simply
that much money to them.
but I think that
Heather, can we take a couple of questions?
Go ahead.
I want to ask a couple, and some of the people in the media, these ads, these negative ads, keep talking about termination, Brevard County
yes,
termination.
address that.
How long were you with the Brevard County Sheriff's Office?
I worked down there about 10 years.
Okay, what's all this about? They're trying to suggest there's something derogatory about your termination.
Right.
Is that true? What is that about?
Okay, I was not terminated from Brevard County Sheriff's Office. I'll try and sum this up as short as possible, but I had the opportunity with Brevard County Sheriff's Office to do something that actually no one else had, and I don't think anyone else has had since. I started that position. I started as a uniform road patrol position there, working crimes not in progress, so in uniform, in the car, responding to missing persons and burglaries. I did that, and then instead of them putting me on the road and paying for me to go to the academy, they put me into an investigative position, and I worked that for many, many years as a detective. And so I was actually fortunate to do that. My daughter was 2 at the time, so it
But
worked
you're
out
not
very
telling us
well.
about the termination.
Okay.
What's that about? They're saying that there's something.
So several years later,
something
I said I'm going to go on the road, and I went on the road, and then they said, well, you don't know how to work the road, even though I had already worked the road before, and I went back into civilian work there.
Okay.
I went back into my role.
There was no misbehavior. Were you engaged in any misbehavior or bad behavior at the Brevard County Sheriff's Office?
No.
So this suggestion they're putting in the ad doesn't sound like it rings completely true.
No. And I would like to address termination from Volusia County Sheriff's Office, because that is a whole nother direct mailer, which I don't have here to, or you?
Well, is that helpful?
It's the same thing, okay. So, let me explain, Volusia County Sheriff's Office, there's a commercial out now, and there's a direct mail piece, and all kinds of stuff going on, that says Heather Post was terminated from the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, and Ben Johnson thinks that she's, you know, a horrible person and has no moral character. That could be farther from the truth. I was terminated, if you would say that, from the Volusia County Sheriff's Office very shortly after a very, by the way, good career with being nominated deputy of the quarter, all of that kind of stuff, not negative stuff. And shortly after that termination, the state came in and did an investigation, found me to be completely cleared of everything, said there was no violations of policies or procedures or anything else. And by the way, the violation of policy and procedure that I was fired on was not calling my captain myself. So that's sort of insane.
And what was the
But
conclusion?
the conclusion was that there was no violation of policies, no violation of procedures. They said, we'll give you your job back. They gave me all my back pay. They gave me a settlement, and I quit.
So do you feel like the way they portrayed it here is somewhat misleading?
They are being very misleading with everything. Yes.
Isn't it true that they also apologized to you?
Well, if you could call it that.
I want to ask another question that bothers me about this campaign. They cite in here polygraph tests, and the News Journal published something about internal VCO employee investigation reports.
So let me just say,
Is this stuff legitimate public record?
as far as I understand, it is not, and I have not even been able to get a copy of whatever this is. Maybe you have it.
I do.
The News Journal
Yes.
has it. I haven't been unable to get a copy of whatever record that is supposed to be.
Are polygraph tests done in connection with a law enforcement application part of the public record?
They are not supposed to be part of it.
How does this
I don't
stuff
know.
that nobody else has
I have
out there
no
on
idea.
them, is supposed to be confidential
That's a
information?
good question to ask the power brokers in Volusia County that are running Al Smith's campaign.
And what is the media doing, to your knowledge, about investigating how the people that oppose you have access to these records that to most of us seem like they ought to be off record and not subject to this sort of exposure?
nothing that I have seen. So I would also like to address that. They noted, maybe that, oh, it is in here. They noted, okay, you can go to the Brevard County Clerk of Court website, and you can see that I was evicted at some time. You can see that, I had a repossession or this and that. Well, I would suggest the News Journal and whoever else that is doing these, very deep investigations into things that I did 30 years ago, that maybe they go to the Volusia County Clerk website, and maybe they look at all of the liens and judgments that are against Al Smith for failing in business. And I'm trying to think of a better word, but screwing people out of, I can't think of a better word, but,
It's a good
in his
word.
business. Or maybe the fact, on here he says he's the owner-operator of Angel and Phelps Cafe. That's a lie. He's not the owner-operator of Angel Phelps Cafe. He's also said, he's a successful events promoter. He doesn't even have a company. The company that he uses went out of business in 2012. So he's actually operating and making money on the citizens of Volusia County without even a company.
Well, what